and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. Fortune said something like, "Oh, I'll be honored if something happens." I say, "Guy, now you they do us for right now. Bringing us a resource pressing is huge. So thank you for making that time. Thank you so much. Schedule." And together, we'll be looking at some of the big stories driving conversation in the country. Just before we get right into it, the PDP BOT meeting was meant to happen today, and heavy security presence at the PDP headquarters ahead of the highly polarized NEC caucus meeting. And then a lot of people are wondering, what are we going to expect with all the presence from the mornings to this pretty points in time? Is it going to be more drama for us at the end of the day? But, we can't speculate just yet. There's heavy security presence at the headquarters, or there was earlier today, and I think pretty much even till this time. The National Secretariat is heavily guarded by personnel from various law enforcement agencies, from the police to the NSCDC. Uncertainty surround today's scheduled meeting at the party secretariat, as one group claimed it's the National Caucus meeting, while the others insist it's a National Executive Council meeting. And operatives were seen marching journalists, members of staff, member of the party's board of trustees out of the complex. The party has been embroiled in crisis, partly due to the National Secretary's tussle, putting Sunday Udeokoye against Samuel Anyao. But we know that Samuel Anyao is apparently the chosen one at this point in time. So the fact that they're still having issues as to what the meeting is and how it's to go, it tells you they are far from addressing their issues. They are far from addressing their issues. And it just takes me back to the statement that says that a house divided against itself cannot stand. If the PDP, with all the years of its experience, the caliber of members it has, and of course its place at the center of governance in Nigeria all these years, also, expected to be the pace setter for internal party politics in this country, cannot identify what meeting it's having on a day like this, then I don't see how they're going to get out of this. We can only say all the best to the PDP, and they need to get their act together because the country is in dire need of a viable opposition. Indeed. And quite a number of people are just waiting with bated breath to see what shape this viable opposition is going to take. Is it going to be individual and personality based, or is it going to be the structure of the party? Are we going to see a coalition made up of several parties? Are we going to see a merger? I mean, it's not clear just yet what Nigerians should expect, but a good number of people, if you ask, will tell you, well, you know what, right now we just need a different government, but it can't be what happened in 2015 where it feels like anybody but Goodluck Jonathan. I mean, Nigerians should not do that this time around. It can't be anybody but Tinubu. Well, but that's that. But it's a dangerous one. It's a very, very dangerous place to be. However, that's the only other way Nigerians know how to play politics. So we basically do not follow the process throughout, from the grassroots level to the party level and all of that. And then when it gets to elections, we are choked in by the candidates we have. And because we're in a chokehold, it's a desperate grasp for life at that point, which is why we always end up with the kind of leaders we end up with. Look at the last 2 years, for instance. What would you say, in what ways would you say that the average Nigerian has prepared for the next 4 years? In what ways have we held our leaders accountable? In what ways can we say, I mean, the only people you hear talking about parties, political parties and all of that are people who are either registered members or who have benefited one way or the other. The remaining, everybody goes back to business as usual. And then 2027, we get angry and say, why did they not present us proper candidates? How do you get candidates if you're not involved from the beginning? All right, so take the cue and be a part of a political party that leans towards your interest. Now, let's move on. Not moving away, really, because we're still within the PDP axis. The Rivers State Governor, Sir Wike-Fubara, has appealed to his supporters. Apparently, they're feuding supporters against supporters at this point in time. Just can't wrap their head as to how easily it was to mend fences and just resolve this. It's been, 2 years conflict going on between Fubara and the FCT minister. So he's appealed to his supporters and members of the simplified family to accept the new peace deal between him and his predecessor, The Minister of the FCT, Wike-Fubara, explained that he accepted the terms proposed by Wike because there was no price too big to pay for peace. Fubara, who met with members of his simplified family in Port Harcourt on Saturday, asked his supporters to brave for the situation, saying that the conditions were heavy and bitter but necessary. That after the meeting we had on the 29th of May, we've had a series of meetings, and one of the meetings we had was the one we met with the president, and he says, I want you and your Oga to settle. Nobody will take away the role my Oga played. That's the truth. Yes, we might have our differences, but nobody would say he doesn't know the role that the man played. Nobody can wish away the risk he took. Yes, at a point where we had our differences. And if today a need for us to settle, please, anyone who genuinely believes in me should understand that it's the right thing to do. So my dear fathers, brothers and sisters, no matter the level of peace that a mediator will arrange, the true peace is the one both of you are sitting down together to say, yes, this is what we want. Now, are we looking at a man who is indeed deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize, or a man who has been beaten to the ground to submission, and some people have been saying might cost him the second term in office?
First of all, I don't see a second term in office for the incumbent governor of Rivers State. I don't see a second term coming for him because this entire problem has tested his political presence in Rivers State, and this is what I would have expected that he would take his first term to build. Having come into office, the way he came into office, having the support of his predecessor, being the anointed one, having all of that support and all of that, I thought that he would have been patient enough, to swallow the frog, the proverbial frog, take all that he could have taken in the first term, because he came into office at a peculiar time when the authorities at the center largely favor this method of politics, where you have a political father or a political leader who endorses you, backs you up, provides funding, does a lot for you to get into office, and then you pay back in some way, by being loyal, by staying the cause and continuing to acknowledge, that authority that brought you into office. I think that he took the advice of these same supporters and followers too early. I think that he jumped the gun too early. I think that he is beginning to lick the wounds of jumping the gun too early, especially against somebody.
But that's marks of political naivety. Like, how naive can you be politically?
Because the thing is, if you're a technocrat and you come into the space of people who have actually cut their teeth in politics long enough, to know the ropes enough for you to stay in a political party and banter with the other political party and still be relevant both ways, that is a politician. And that's the kind of person he was going up against. He was going head to head with, coming in as a technocrat, coming in, from the background that he came in, having not built that base before coming. It was difficult for him to go head to head with. And so, you can be mature in politics, mature in age, mature in business, mature in age, but you are not yet mature in politics. And we're talking Nigerian politics. So I think that's
love the emphasis on that,
because there's a way that we do the politics here, and you have to understand these ways and be able to apply yourself to them, or better still, be able to navigate the politics of the day for you to be relevant. And that relevance was what he needed to have built. Go to Lagos, for instance. We had an example in the immediate past governor of Lagos State. And I'm not saying this because this is how it should be ideally. No, but this is what we have. And that system is what subsists at the center. We have President Tinubu as the president, and he is Nigerians know him as a proponent for for this kind of politics where, you bring up people, you strengthen them, and then you show them the ropes. That's how it's supposed to sound ideally, yeah? And this is what happened in Rivers State. Everybody could see what happened and all of that. And then give yourself time. Learn the thing. No, I know what I'm doing. And if to an extent, I felt like, I'm not saying that the state of emergency was the best route to go, but I saw that this fight was a fight that was going to distract the governor from the entire process of development in his state and all of that, from governing, because from the very beginning, he had picked up this fight and was carrying on with it. And sometimes
perhaps he didn't know how far he would have to go with the or how he needed to sustain this fight.
That's
like
where,
you said, it was that bit of ignorance to starting too early, and maybe not understanding who your principal is enough
for you to actually.
For the president to refer to the FCT minister as your Oga.
These are the statements.
An executive governor of a state.
So take a look at Kogi State and how things are going. We're not saying that governance has returned to Kogi State, but politically you can say that there is a bit of stability. You don't expect that to happen in the second term when the governor knows that, okay, yes, this is the term where I don't have to do anything extra to make my principals pleased and all of that. But like I always say, there are certain battles you do not need at certain points in your life. Not Noah. What was the name of the man they sent to go and tell people that they were doing wrong, and then the fish swallowed him?
What's his name? Jonah. Yeah.
Jonah never needed to be swallowed by the fish. All he needed to do was go to where they told him to go. That was a needless fight, a needless battle. He was not supposed to be swallowed, but he was. And I think that's what happened in Rivers State. The governor got swallowed by the fish.
So the governor was swallowed by the event. Literally, we see the swallowing. He was suspended as governor. And then upon his return, he would know that his days are numbered.
Exactly. His days are numbered. His supporters who thought that they had come into their own.
Because if you look at it, does he even have the political muscle on his own to put his name on that ballot and win?
I don't think so. I don't see that happening.
If we're looking at 2015, Wike was the front man. He was all we saw. At one point, I was asking, who can be the person?
Exactly.
Because I know constitutionally that, we cannot be running for a third term.
Exactly.
So who really is the man?
Yeah, so you were faceless from the very beginning. In the entire process, you were faceless. But there is a caveat. If, for instance, the flood that is happening right now, where we can find so many governors flooding to the party at the center, right now, expecting that, the entire political landscape is as predictable as they think right now, because I still believe in miracles and I know that things can change.
All right, we'll take the miracle part after this quick break. Stay with us.
The MTN Mega Billion promo is...
This is Nigeria.
Only a miracle in 2027 can actually help this nation get out of the political tsunami we're about to experience, where it's almost becoming like a single party state in Nigeria, where governors are standing on podiums and telling their people, look, if you don't go with me, you're out. Yeah. You're out of office, in places where we never thought that such statements could ever come out from before.
Talking about places, I was talking with someone when we were looking at Delta. Delta has always been a PDP state. And then we saw the Akwa Ibom state governor take that route. Speculations about Bayelsa is strong. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about speculation, actually. If you're looking at what the deputy chairman of the vice chairman, Southeast, I beg your pardon, of the All Progressive Congress says that governors of Bayelsa, I think Bayelsa's one it has gone beyond rumor to
actually coming to pass. Yeah.
Rivers. Could this reconciliation be hinting at that? Plateau State, Kano State will join the ruling party in the next 2 months. I mean, they're giving you timeline. They can't give you precise timeline how the economy will turn around.
Exactly. But concerning this, it's clear.
They know. Now, speaking in an interview recently, the Vice Chair Southeast of the APC, Ijoma, said the planned defections are not speculative but imminent. The National Vice Chairman said APC is also not ruling out the possibility of Peter Mba, Governor of Enugu State, and his Abia counterpart, Alex Oti, pitching tent with the party. And we're talking about governors from Bayelsa, Rivers, Plateau, Kano, either Abia or Enugu in the next 2 months. You see them, they'll join us officially. And of course, Bayelsa is in the picture. That's why I mentioned it. On Adeleke, Osun State, I can't give a definitive answer, but I know he's made moves. He said opposition politicians who are mobilizing for a coalition ahead of the 2027 election only interested in media stunts and not governance, that the idea of forming a so-called opposition coalition is nothing but all of the media stunts and propaganda. So these politicians just want to make their names in the headline. So you're telling us this one is media stunt, but what your party is doing
is not.
It's not.
It's not.
But yeah, like you mentioned, that danger, even though the president on Democracy Day said, guys, it's the last thing I want to do to have a one-party state. He says one thing, but the action of his party says another. Because we're seeing parties and states that have been held for, a while by the opposition party collapsing into your party. What other signs do you need?
So, I mean, what the president says does not mean that the party will not continue to do what it can to make itself stronger, bring in more governors, because over the last, 4-8 years, we've seen that the political structure in Nigeria is largely being run by the governors, governors forum in the party, governors this. We saw how big G5 became, in the PDP and all of that. The governors became the center of the parties, largely because of the funds they bring in, the political clout they bring in, and they have continually, become stronger and stronger. However, I also fear for the APC with the way things are going, because this was the kind of insatiable hunger for power, clout, and funds that people like the PDP had. After their 16 years in office and all of that, they kept going on and on about being the largest party in Africa, bringing in more and more people and all of that. And Nigerian politics is going in a direction where interests are becoming stronger than principles. And where interests are that strong, with so many empowered people, it's difficult to set up a system of order. And that's what, for instance, we just spoke about the PDP and not knowing what party, what meeting it held today at the party secretariat. Why? Because there are a lot of powerful people, a lot of vocal people who can actually fund a narrative on air and everywhere concerning what they think the party's direction should be. Everybody has a say as to who should be what. And if you ask them individually, everybody is taking kind of taking credit for having made something happen in the party that just happened or is about to happen. For instance, the official you spoke about in APC, who spoke about these things, what did she say? She said, I'm telling you, they are going to defect, and it is very soon. Now, these kinds of statements should probably have come after the defection. But you see, she feels empowered enough to go and
it's
speak.
a gentleman, actually.
Goes
by the name. But the thing is, also, like you pointed out afterwards, this one is taking a step. To putting it out there. Is it forcing their hands at this point to say your names have been mentioned? You better come.
Maybe that's the strategy. But if you ask me, there's this sense of arrogance that is beginning to come into that party because of these defections and because of these new affiliations they are forming. I don't know that there is a strategy to manage internally all of the weights that are coming, but when you have so many moving weights coming into a vessel, then steadying that vessel becomes difficult. And this is where I fear for them. And that's, I spoke about a possible miracle.
That the deposit doesn't implode.
Exactly.
Taking too much weight.
Taking in too much weight. Because the APC, if you ask me, after the last elections, came through a very turbulent time. Before Ganduje came in as party chairman, you remember all of the tussle we had for party chairmanship, Adams Oshomole, all that, when the party would be overtaken by security agents, party headquarters, and all the things happening in PDP. They did happen in the APC just a few years ago, and then this seeming stability comes in, and before we celebrate that stability, more weights are being pulled in. I fear that might be the problem of the APC going forward.
But at one point, I'm tempted to ask, what is the grand plan, do you think, why APC is opening its door to the opposition coming into its fold? If the president is saying it's not targeting a one-party state, what do they stand to gain? Is it about the president's re-election, or to just say our party controls?
Kim, I can tell you that the politics of Nigeria right now revolves around the re-election of the president. That's what it is, and that's in some way seems like something that is inevitable, even from general discourse on the streets. Everyone just talking about, the prowess of the president and his experience and all of that, and how he knows how to build structures and all of that. So it just looks like the entire politicking of Nigeria revolves around the imminent re-election of the president. However, everybody now feels like, I must align to this whirlwind so that I will be found in the flow of it somehow. Just the way certain people latched on to the whirlwind of the Labour Party in the last election and actually got elected into office, and, came into what they had thought was not possible. Because there is usually a current when certain things happen. And if you get the current right, which politicians think that they always understand and have tested out, well, you might just end up in the right place.
Talking about current, I'm a little curious to know your opinion as to what current made Abdullah Umar Ganduje resign as the national chairman of the APC. Now, all kinds of speculation. They've since upgraded their acting chairman up there. But if he had to tender his resignation, he cited health reasons, though. And others are saying it might just not be unconnected to a big desire for 2027. So, we'll take it on the surface. Health reasons that he gave. I mean, what other reason would you give for that abrupt resignation?
For that kind of office?
But one would not be surprised if 2 seconds down the road, we now find a man who decides to throw his hat in the ring and say, I'm good enough to be president.
That's possible. That's very, very possible. But I want to hinge it on having witnessed the fact that Abdullah Ganduje had begun to lose his grasp on the northern politics of Nigeria. 2 outings were enough for us to see where he stood with the people, in northern Nigeria. The first one being in Borno, and the second one, I think, was that in Kebbi now or something, where, it was blatant physical attacks to his person. And when it gets to that it gets that low for such an exalted office, I expect that the party leadership would advise that you resign. And in this case, the party leadership, we are very clear on where the leadership of that party comes from.
We're here, we support the president.
We support.
So could that be it? I mean, one of the strong statements you're making is that we stand with the president, we support him, like it was in doubt for 1 second that you would be.
Well, I think that's where I think this came from. This is me just reading it off the surface of it, and all of that. Because, first of all, there cannot be the issue of party leadership at such a critical time. Going into the 2027 elections, going into the kind of consolidation that the party is trying to achieve ahead of 2027. If you cannot demonstrate that you have a grasp of the reins of the party, it's better to let go of it early enough, and then we can find something else for you to do while you cool off.
All right. So while he's cooling off, Ali Bukar Dalori has formally assumed office as the acting national chairman of the All Progressive Congress following the resignation of Abdullahi Ganduje. Ganduje tendered his resignation on Friday, and it was confirmed that the party confirmed Ganduje's resignation. Felix Moka, National Publicity Secretary of the party, said the resignation would enable the former governor of Kano to attend urgent and important personal matter. Suraj Ajibola, National Secretary of the party, presented Ganduje's letter to the National Working Committee during the meeting on Monday. And so there we have it. Dalori addressed the National Working Committee in his first meeting under his leadership, saying he's taking on the responsibility with humility, responsibility and loyalty, and did say that they pledge their support to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so that if anyone is in doubt, you know where he stands.
You know where the support is.
Exactly. Now, just before we get to the phone lines, because I see my phone lines buzzing, Peter Obi has come out to say, 2027, count me in. But then here's something that I find quite curious, is the fact that it's even false. I know that quite a lot of analysts, and if Dr. Majid was here, was one of those people like, Peter Obi should agree to a one term and go. And I asked the question, how much can you do in one term? And like, there's so much you can actually do in one term. And is he going to try his hand at a future one term like Donald Trump? Are we going to have a Trump moment? You had one term, then bridge in between, then you go for another one term? We don't know. But he says he's interested in 2027. We don't know under what platform. Would you be in the Labour Party? Would you not? Would you be merging? We don't know. But one thing implied is willing to do one term. You vote him in. And I'm thinking, I've heard that before from Goodluck Jonathan.
Oh, well. So going into every political season, everybody throws in something that they consider their bargaining chip, something that helps get the attention of the people. President Tinubu threw in a Muslim ticket some time ago, and it did work. We've heard, different times, at different points, you would have some of these marketing gimmicks. But if you ask me, I don't think that will be the conversation if Mr. Peter Obi ever gets in. These are some of the things that, for this country, it's almost as if you can't have someone come into that office, face the realities and the, some of the, those realities of being in that office for the first 4 years and say that, I have run a good race, I have fought a good fight, I am, hanging my boots, and I'm going to hand it to somebody else. How do you do that? How do you overcome the civil service system that we already have? Where we have certain directors, permanent secretaries, career civil servants running the system, whether you are there or you are not. And in these systems, we can see that there is a backlog of decadence, that exists. How do you fight such a system in 4 years? So I know that I have said many times that somebody who has the right kind of political will, and the experience and an understanding of governance may be able to bring in a change in one term. But, having looked at, the same Peter Obi was governor in Anambra. How many terms did he do? How much was he able to do as governor? That was a state system that he had the opportunity to run for a while. We've had the opportunity to also see Peter Obi at the helm of affairs at the party level. How much has been done to put the Labour Party in a place where it can be considered a party of reference in Nigeria today, leading the political party where you get your candidacy from? You just said now we don't even know what party he's going to be running on, even though he hinted at the INEC accepting the Supreme Court ruling, affirming Nenadi Usman as leader. In fact, that Supreme Court ruling is another challenge on its own, because everybody has interpreted it in their own way.
Ways, exactly.
Interpreted it to favor their own side of the conversation. So you see, for me, where I would have loved to see Peter Obi's leadership prowess was at the party level, holding it together, because the only reason why so many Nigerians began to be sympathetic towards the Labour Party was primarily because he was there. Yeah. And I don't think I saw that leadership from him from the very beginning of the crisis of the party. It had gotten to a level where it had become embarrassing, and his name got dragged into it all the time, because everybody expected that he would be the leader of that party. And we didn't see that leadership at that level. So I'm afraid of believing that you can run for one term and bring the kind of change that we expect in Nigeria. But also, if you are going into a political race, you have to present something. And right now, the Labour Party is not something to present. The party tickets, running mate is not something to present. Exactly. So what else can we present?
So what he can present is, I'm going to run for one term. Well, someone has used that line before, and it didn't hold
quite
up to
work.
It. So we're going to see if Peter Obi will be any different. That is, if people trust him enough to give him their votes.
Absolutely.
All right, then. Let's get to the phone line. 0700 951 0000. Just so you know, we're live on Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja on Facebook. You can leave your comment there. Idris Elejo Husseini, wonderful to see you as our guest. Well done, sir. Thank you very much. Idris to our guest. Hafsat Mazu says, good afternoon, Kim, I'm the guest. And Umase Patrick, good to see Mr. Musa Agula again. Well done job. Patrick from Lube Airport Road sent that one in. Clem says, good afternoon to you, Dioroko, and your guest. Well done. However, Wike has successfully downgraded Fubara politically with so many conditions they obey before resuming back to office. But what he failed to understand is that no crown remains forever. Power comes and power goes. But one day he would surely leave office. One man cannot be bigger than the entire River State. I rest my case, says Clems. You've got 1 minute to share your thought via telephone 0700 951 0000 or 0809 999. How many nines did they call? 0809 993 0137. Please, 1 minute, as a lot of people are waiting. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I'm calling from one.
Go ahead, sir.
About what is in top leadership, Labour Party. It's good there because one now the other group that wants the coalition that wants to register a group. You saw what happened? They just sent another name, and there was alternative to them.
Uka, we're trying to understand what you're saying. The network is really bad, Uka. Sorry, we have to drop your call. Hello.
Mr. Kim.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Yeah, this is Mr. Hart from Life Camp.
Go ahead, Mr. Hart.
All right. In terms of P2B 4 years, yes, it can make a difference. I'm a living witness. I'm from Abia State. For just 2 years, if Oti can resign and say he's not doing again, I will give him a lifetime achievement. They have done more than what other people would have done, joined together since 1999. Oti of Abia State have surpassed their record. We talk, I'm going and verify. If not P2B, say go and check. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hart. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Adela Bito from Busalagi.
Go ahead, sir.
You see, democracy is under serious siege, especially in River State. Then the question is Fubara now a full-fledged governor? Because he has no political structure now. The local government, state house of assembly, and the hand of Wike-Fubara. So the only thing now left for him now to fight small is the constitutional immunity under section 308. Maybe we now use this one because you see our politicians to have principle. It's supposed to say I'm no more interested. So instead of agreeing to all the demotional and caging conditions, so they will do it because they are now caging and they will continue to football him politically. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, my dad. In the studio.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jason Lee from Waru.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. What I want us Nigerians to know is that the Wike is a politician, Fubara is a politician. Nobody knows where they have started. And in true earnest in life, agreement is an agreement. If you do not open up, I will not be able to continue with this agreement. Fine. Whatever the case may be, we thank God there is peace. In fact, let us know that peace is more than any other thing that Nigerians are thinking we thank God for that peace. Because if anything go out of that, all of us, the following will still be saying, Fubara should have agreed, look at what you cause this and that. Let them sort out themselves. All we need is peace in this country. God bless you and God bless
all right.
Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Banking Wuse 2 says, good afternoon, the Oracle and the Mayor. Everything in the mix should tell PDP on why they should be bold in their decision. They've already lost Delta and Akwa Ibom State and should not be surprised if River State follows suit. With Bayelsa, it's precarious since they've always been with the ruling party. PDP should expel Wike and probably Makinde since I see them playing game of destructive attrition, says Banky there. And please tell the mayor that the PDP is suffering from an external crisis orchestrated, fermented and micromanaged from authorities that be. Their brand of politics is silent, they suffocate, they choke on every opposition. It's fear and cowardice. Same thing in River State. Deliverance is coming though. Watch out, says the Patriot. Listening to our guest about loyalty to political godfather just to keep the first tenure over and above governance, then we have a long way to go. My question is, where is the people in all of this political brouhaha? Very sad. Kashimi Sadaji from Maraba in Nasarawa State. And good afternoon, Kim. Pastor Agola, you're welcome home. To me, I totally agree with the Governor Fubara. And to some people who always want to look for whom to blame just because they hate someone's face. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, nobody among those who attacked issues sentiment today were there when they were promising themselves and planning on how to become victorious in the election. On PDP, I think the crisis in the party is far from being over because of personal ego. How can these people allow a single personality to always be the standard bearer of the party, even if the personality just jumped from one other party as usual? I totally agree with Governor Adeleke Oludade Abiodun. Hello? All right, let's hear you. Hello?
Hello? I'm calling back again.
All right, I hope your connection will be better this time.
Probably it's network. Now, the point about what Fortune said about Labour Party, be mediated on that material at that critical time, but we found out that the power behind is exactly what the ruling party is orchestrating. The coalition now was looking at SDP. Now you see there's a problem in SDP. And now sent a name to raise other ATA. Somebody again, they sent another one. So there was nothing he could do. And the same thing they are trying to do is to galvanize the whole of the South and get the AKK states, and Katsina and Kaduna states. And they're hoping that they can galvanize. But let's just pray. If we do the ballot paper, that's where it was. But if we do in the ballot paper, something will change. That's just the truth.
Thank you very much, Uka. We managed to survive the turbulent network connection, but we kind of got what you said. Israel says the only roof politicians have over their head is a political party. PDP governors and lawmakers are joining the APC today, not because they like the party. It's only standing roof for now, and no one would like to stay in the rain. Any roof available can go. But believe me, some of the people are waiting to see a viable opposition that can provide them a platform. When 2027 comes, it will be left for Nigerians whether they will choose their representative based on steadfastness or a cup of rice. Good afternoon. Fortune smiles on Kim. Wike posed a question that day he was interviewed after doing everything for your child, only for that child that you did. You said, what would you do? No answer was given to you. Okay, but I think something is lost in translation somewhere. Let's hear this voice note.
The Mayor, welcome to 95.1. Yeah, okay, good to hear from you again. Hi, Kim, how you guys doing? Yeah, it's one day, one trouble in Nigeria. The issue between Wike and Fubara and what has happened really saddens a lot of us, and I mean, it's unbelievable that a man can now sit down in his living room or wherever and determine who can run for elective position and who can't in a state of I don't know how many people. Isn't that a shame? So I also think it speaks volumes of the FCT minister that you who say you will not interfere in the issues in FCT with the area chairman or whatever, concerning the pupils. Because they're elected, you will go to River State and then interfere with Fubara up to the extent that he has to cower, he has to grovel, to actually execute the job he's been employed to do. If you assisted him to get into that position, well, that's it. He's gotten there. Leave him alone. So we are very sad. And this is how BAT handled Ambode. And he couldn't run for second.
The MTN Mega Billion promo is finally here. And I'm hearing from Monday to Saturday,